I was thinking this morning about how we have all these phrases for time.
Mm-hmm.
We spend it, we save it, we waste it, and sometimes, we even kill it. It's like it's the currency of our entire lives.
It is, yeah.
But if someone actually stopped me on the street and asked, okay, but what is time? I think I'd just freeze.
Right.
It's the water we're swimming in, but we have absolutely no idea what its chemical makeup is.
It's the ultimate paradox.
Right.
I mean, it is the most intimate part of our experience. You're feeling time pass right now as I speak. But it's arguably the most elusive concept in the history of human thought,
We can measure it with insane precision, sure.
down to the vibration of a single atom. But defining it, that is where things get really messy.
Which is exactly why I've been looking forward to this deep dive. We are tackling The Essence and Dimensions of Time by Mohammed Abubakar.
And I love this source.
Me too, because it's not just a physics paper and it's not just, a philosophy track. It tries to bring them together.
It synthesizes them.
So the goal today is to stop looking at the clock and start looking at the thing the clock is trying to catch.
It's a shift from time management to, let's call it time awareness. Abubakar's work really pushes us to understand how time is defined across science, philosophy, history, and crucially, why that actually changes how you live your Tuesday afternoon.
Okay, so let's start with the hard part, defining the undefinable.
Let's do it.
The text lays out a specific definition. Time is a measurable dimension in which events occur in sequence and duration. Now, measurable dimension sounds a little bit like Star Trek, so let's maybe put a pin in that and look at the other two first. Sequence and duration.
Right. It sounds simple on the surface, but the implications are massive. Sequence isn't just first, second, third.
No.
It's the architecture of causality. It's the rule that says the effect cannot happen before the cause. Without sequence, the universe is just a chaotic jumble of static.
So sequence is basically the arrow of time. It's the reason I can't unscramble an egg or unspill my coffee this morning.
Exactly. It forces the universe to play out in a specific direction. It gives reality a narrative arc. Without sequence, there's no story to the universe.
Okay, and then you have duration.
Right. And as the sequence is the order of events, duration is, well, it's the canvas they're painted on. It's the interval, the how long.
That distinction really helps. So sequence stops everything from happening at once, and duration stops everything from happening instantaneously.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But the text also moves from these mechanics to the flow, that psychological feeling of movement, the past, present, and future. And honestly, the way Abubakar describes the present gave me a bit of an existential crisis.
Oh, it's unsettling when you really look at it. The present is described as this infinitely thin razor's edge. It's constantly moving, constantly vanishing.
As soon as you acknowledge now.
It's already then.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so slippery.
And then you have the past, which the text defines by its immutability. It's fixed.
Immutability is such a heavy concept. It means the past is effectively a crystallized reality. It cannot be altered. And the future is the inverse. It's pure potential, totally uncertain.
And here's the critical point Abubakar makes, right? Without this flow, without this transition from potential future to fixed past, nothing could actually happen.
Precisely.
So time isn't just a container that things sit in. It's the engine of change. If time stops, motion stops, growth stops.
Everything freezes. Time is the prerequisite for change. If you want to know if a tree has grown, you need to compare the sequence of tree yesterday to tree today and measure the duration between them. Time is the yardstick of existence.
Speaking of yardsticks, that brings us to the measurable dimension part of the definition. This is where we put on our lab coats.
Right.
The text explicitly treats time as a dimension, similar to length, width, and height.
And this was a fundamental shift that happened in physics. We used to think of space and time as totally separate things. Space was the stage, and time was the ticking clock on the wall.
But that's not right.
No. Modern physics says time is the fourth dimension. You can't describe where you are without also describing when you are.
I always like the dinner party analogy for this. If I tell you, meet me at the restaurant on Main Street, but I don't tell you at 7 p.m., we are not meeting.
We are not.
You need all four coordinates to locate an event in reality.
Exactly. And just like we developed tools to measure length from feet and cubits to laser rangefinders, we've spent all of human history trying to build a better ruler for time.
And we started with the biggest clocks available to us. The sky.
The celestial clock. The rotation of the Earth gave us the day. Its revolution around the sun gave us the year. It was reliable, but it wasn't uniform.
Right. Days get longer and shorter depending on the season. It's organic time.
But organic time wasn't good enough for us. We needed precision.
Which the text says brings us all the way to atomic clocks. And I think most people know atomic clocks are accurate, but I was surprised by how they work.
It's not just a fancy quartz watch. No, it's measuring the fundamental heartbeat of the universe. We're measuring the oscillation, the vibration of atoms, usually cesium atoms. And these vibrations are incredibly fast and unbelievably consistent. We aren't counting sunrises anymore. We're slicing a single second into billions of distinct slivers.
And that's the level of precision that makes things like GPS possible, isn't it?
It is.
If the clocks on those satellites were off by even a fraction of a second, my map would show me driving into a lake.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
But here's where the story twists. We built these hyper-accurate clocks. We started measuring the universe. And then Albert Einstein came along and essentially said, throw your rigid rulers away.
The relativity bomb, this is the part of the text that always melts my brain a little. Up until Einstein, everyone, Newton included, thought time was a constant. A second on Earth is a second on Mars, is a second at the edge of the galaxy.
It was the absolute container.
Yep.
But Einstein proved that time is relative. It's malleable. It stretches and it squishes, depending on two things, your speed and gravity.
Okay, we need to break this down. The text uses the astronaut example, but I really want to understand why this happens. Why does moving fast make time slow down?
Well, it all has to do with the speed of light. The fundamental rule of the universe is that the speed of light is constant for everyone. No matter how fast you're going, light always passes you at the same speed.
Okay.
So if you're moving incredibly fast through space, something has to give to keep the speed of light constant in your reference frame. And that something that gives, it's time.
So, because light can't speed up from my perspective, time itself has to slow down to make the math work.
That is a great way to put it. You are trading speed through space for speed through time. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time.
So the astronaut in the text, let's say they travel near light speed to a distant star and come back. To them, maybe 2 years have passed.
Right.
But back here on Earth, 20 years might have passed.
Yes. That's time dilation. Their duration was physically different from ours. They haven't just aged well. They have literally existed for less time than the people they left behind.
That just completely shatters the idea of now. There is no universal now happening everywhere in the galaxy at the same time.
There isn't. Now is a local phenomenon. And gravity does the same thing. The text touches on this. Gravity literally bends space-time. So a clock on the surface of the Earth ticks ever so slightly slower than a clock floating in deep space.
Because the Earth's mass is dragging on time itself.
Exactly.
So time isn't a steady river. It's more like a river that speeds up in the rapids and slows down in the deep pools, depending on where you are and what you're doing.
And that realization is what forces us out of the physics lab and into the philosophy department. Because if time is bendy, if it's relative, is it even real? Or is it just a perspective?
This is the second perspective Abu Becker covers, the philosophy of time. And this is where we go from how do we measure it to what is it really?
And philosophers have been arguing about this since the beginning of time. The text contrasts two major views. First, you have linear time.
The common sense view.
Pretty much. Time is an arrow. It flies from the past through the present to the future. It's objective. It exists whether humans are here to watch it or not.
Which feels true. I mean, the universe was doing its thing for billions of years before we showed up.
But the opposing view is that time is a mental construct. That what we perceive as flow, that feeling of the past slipping away, is just a trick of human consciousness. Our brains are built to organize information into cause and effect so we can survive.
So we create the timeline to make sense of the chaos.
We impose a grid on reality.
Which sort of ties back to that block universe idea, doesn't it? Where the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, like a giant loaf of bread, and our consciousness is just slicing through it one moment at a time.
That's the extreme version of that argument, yes. And even if you don't go that far, Abu Becker points out that our experience of time is incredibly subjective. Think about when you're bored. Time drags.
Or when you're terrified, it slows down.
And when you're having fun, it vanishes. Our internal clock rarely matches the atomic clock on the wall.
The text highlights the existential weight of this, specifically the immutability of the past. We touched on this, but philosophically, it's about more than just physics. It's about truth.
It is. The past is the only thing we truly own. The future is hypothetical. The present is fleeting. But the past, that is the record of who we are. The fact that it cannot be changed, is what gives our actions weight.
So if we could undo the past, nothing would matter.
Nothing would have consequence.
That's a powerful reframing. We usually see the unchangeable past as a burden. I wish I hadn't said that. But
Yeah.
you're saying it's what anchors our identity?
Exactly. And on the flip side, the text talks about the uncertainty of the future. It's terrifying, sure, but it's also the space where free will lives. If the future was as fixed as the past, we'd just be robots acting out a script. The uncertainty is where hope exists.
So philosophy teaches us that we are walking this tightrope between the fixed reality of what we've done and the infinite potential of what we might do.
And that tightrope walk, that's history. That is the third perspective the source brings in. History is just the collective application of these concepts to the human story.
The text says historians use time to understand cause and effect, but I like that it went beyond just dates on a calendar. It talks about structuring time eras and periods.
This is so crucial. The Middle Ages didn't exist for the people living in them. They were just living.
Right.
We retroactively apply these structures, ancient, medieval, modern, to chunk vast amounts of duration to understandable narratives.
It's like we're building chapters in a book that's still being written. But that makes me think about how history also changed our perception of time. I mean, think about the railroads.
Oh, absolutely. Before the Industrial Age, every town had its own time. Noon was just when the sun was overhead. Noon in London was different from noon in Bristol.
But you can't run a train schedule on local solar time.
You'd have collisions. So we invented standard time. We forced the world to agree on the clock, even if the sun disagreed. We detached time from nature to serve society.
Which brings us to the final section of Abubaker's work, the everyday human perspective. Because we don't live in the twin paradox, and we don't live in the Renaissance, we live with 7.0 a.m. alarms and Google Calendar invites.
And the text argues that in our daily lives, time serves two main purposes: structure and meaning.
Structure is the obvious one. It prevents chaos.
Imagine a world without it. No meetings, no school bells, no flight schedules. It would be a total breakdown of social cooperation. We surrender to the clock so we can collaborate.
But the meaning part is what really resonated with me. Milestones. Birthdays, anniversaries, New Year's Eve.
They're just arbitrary points in the Earth's orbit, scientifically speaking.
But we load them with so much emotional weight. We use them to punctuate our existence. A birthday isn't just a date, it's a moment to measure our own biological duration.
We look at the sequence of our lives, childhood, adulthood, and we assess, am I where I wanted to be? Time gives us the framework to judge our own growth.
And it allows for planning, that ability to project ourselves into that uncertain future. The text links this to goal setting, but it's really about mental time travel.
That is a uniquely human superpower. We can sacrifice in the now for a benefit in the future. We can plant a tree that we ourselves will never sit under. That requires a profound understanding of time's flow.
So bringing this all together, we've gone from the vibration of a cesium atom to the theory of relativity,
To the philosophical anxiety of a fleeting present.
all the way to just planning a birthday party.
And they're all facets of the same gem. Abubaker's whole point was to show that these aren't separate topics. The physics of time enables the chemistry of biology, which allows for the consciousness of philosophy, which creates the narrative of history.
And the conclusion the source draws is that understanding this complexity shouldn't make us feel small. It should make us more intentional.
Right. When you understand that the present is this fleeting, razor-thin interface between a fixed past and an uncertain future, you stop treating it like a waiting room.
You realize it's the only place where you actually exist.
Exactly.
And knowing that time is a dimension, something you move through, gives you a bit of agency. You aren't just watching a clock tick. You are actively traversing a dimension of the universe.
It connects you to the cosmos in a very, very literal way.
Before we sign off, I want to leave the listener with a thought that came up when we were discussing the philosophy section. We talked about the river of time, the idea that we're watching it flow past.
The classic Heraclitus image, you cannot step into the same river twice.
Exactly. But if time is a dimension, like a landscape, maybe the river isn't moving. Maybe the river is frozen, and we are the ones moving past it. Maybe the past isn't gone. Maybe it's just downriver, and we can't swim back up.
So that changes the whole picture. Are we the observer, or are we the traveler?
I think I'm going to need a few minutes or just some duration to process that one. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure to traverse the fourth dimension with you.
We'll see you in the future.